Well, I don't know about you, but I'm still reeling from that University Challenge match. When people say quizzing isn't a sport, I say watch something like that. It is absolutely thrilling. Oh, what a comeback that would have been. And, well, unfortunately, we don't have anybody from that show with us tonight. But next week, we've got Koshiro Kiso, the captain of UCL, joining us. He will be talking about that heroic almost comeback, and we'll love to hear what he has to say about it. Bear with me whilst I just put on our brand and remind you that you can put comments in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer your questions and bring your views into our discussion. Tonight, we're really lucky to have two great guests. We've got James Devine-Stoneman, a former University Challenge Series champion, and we've got Sam Navaratnam, who was on with the Muppets tonight. And without further ado, let's get them on screen. There's Sam and there's James, and I'll try not to mangle names going forward. Welcome, both of you.
Hi, Gareth.
Firstly, congratulations to Sam. That was a nervy match at times, quite tense. You know, going into the missing vowels, there was nothing much between you and the Steelers, was there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think we went into that game. You know, I guess you went in quite comfortable. I think we came out of that feeling we sort of really got away with something. I mean, they were a good team, and actually, when we were watching their round one game, and you know, they were really strong. So actually, feel quite good coming out of this. It was close. And actually, I mean, all the shows tonight were super close, and so we're glad we could contribute to some excitement as well.
Indeed, it was a close night. Now, James, you're a St John's alum. How were you feeling when that comeback was happening, and it seemed kind of relentless?
Well, I was just wondering when the gong was going to come. I thought it must be any moment now, right? It just didn't come. Yeah, it was, you know, such a dominant start from John's, and then it all almost turned around.
I mean, were you doing the equivalent of at football matches when people are blowing, you know, whistling to try and get the referee to call time?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I always, I never like it when I see on University Challenge captains trying to waste time. So, you know, I really don't like that. I think there should be some sort of time limit on that sort of thing. But, you know, I don't think we can accuse Johns of having done that today. I think it was just a solid sportsmanship all around, really.
Yeah. I thought it was it was an absolutely thrilling match. As I said in the intro, you can't ask for a lot more when one team looks dead and buried and then all of a sudden puts a hell of a run together like that. I mean, 5 points, one answer.
Yeah.
That's the difference between getting yourself into a tiebreaker or not, or one buzz. You know, that's the difference. It's small margins. Look, we've got three great shows to talk about tonight. We've got Mastermind, Only Connect, and we've got University Challenge. Let's probably park Mastermind until a little bit later. Later on in the show, we've also got our Quiz Week segment where I'll update you on the latest news in the world of quiz, including on this channel. Nominations for Quizzer of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week will be released. So we'll do those a little bit later. Let's start, as we've got Sam with us, with Only Connect. And... you know, it was a scratchy game, I guess, early on. Neither of you were really kind of managing to nail the big points. Did you kind of start to feel the pressure building?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I mean, the way I describe it, it's sort of like those sort of really gritty rugby matches that really sort of just grinding it out, and you know, go look through the rounds. There weren't that many points scored throughout. It was just, you know, marginal gains here and there. So again, rewatching it, I mean, I felt it. I think in the studio, I think you're more to some degree thinking about yourself and how well you are doing in that moment. You know, you really that's the only thing you're in control of. So I think in that time, I think we were still really feeling it. I don't think we were really thinking about it in the context of, you know, well, we're just about ahead. And definitely going into that, going into the missing vowels round, I think we were just sort of giving ourselves a pep talk of sort of, you know, well, heads down, focus, let's try to get this done. You know, I think we were just a bit up against it.
And even into that missing vowels round, you know, a couple of sets in, and there was still nothing between the two teams. It was still as tight as anything. And you know, I guess we're jumping towards the conclusion, but you kind of you had that really good final round. I'm just looking at it, the van removed, where that just took you over the line. But I have to mention the drop the dead Donkey Kong, Sam. Great answer. You must have been pleased with that.
So pleased. And also in our first round game, I did not do very well in the.
Oh, I think we lost you a bit, Sam.
Yeah,
you're back with us. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, so I think when I managed to get that and the other one, I think it was Correlation Street Fighter, I think. But yeah, I was so pleased. I think, well, again, I think Andrew was so quick coming in on those, and so actually get to beat him on those, I was quite pleased.
Michael McPartland, a former semi-finalist on Only Connected Self, says toughest question set by a distance on the current series of OC. Great performance by the Muppets to pick up a win. It did feel tough. I mean, the opening question on, you know, the Russian text, the French text, the German text, etc., for the keyboard layout, that was brutal. That they didn't ease you in gently into that show, did they?
No, gosh, and I mean, I think also when you look at that second question that we had, which was on about sort of typhoon, natural disasters or natural sort of events, I think we went in probably thinking it was going to be something way more complicated, and actually we just need to go back to basics. It was far simpler than we realised. So yeah.
James, when you were watching it, what was your feeling? Were you picking up many of these questions, or were you struggling as well, like most of us watching?
I thought it was a really hard night. Yeah, I didn't get the keyboard one. There was, not a whole lot in those first couple of rounds really. Just about saw where the F. Scott Fitzgerald one was going. I had no idea what was happening with the registration plates. I thought that was very impressive from the Muppets. It was very. It was any points. Any points at all from those first couple of rounds were very impressive and hard fought for.
I thought the as you mentioned, that round 2 question, LLL, NNN, LLL, NNL. We talked before on the show about questions that when you hear the answer, it's like, oh, for God's sake, of course it is. That was an absolute one of those, because you recognise that pattern. I, on the other hand, was going, okay, what song goes la 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 na 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 la na 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 la la? That was what I got fixated on. I just couldn't get rid of it. So the fact that you guys picked that up was a bonus. Was a corker of an answer. Yeah, no, I remember. Well, I remember in that, me and Fergus, because obviously we've got the screens, we've got the little earpiece, we can hear each other, and me and Fergus were essentially talking to each other, trying to just figure this one out. And then when she threw over, Sang said, "I've got it," and I was like, "Well, I hope you have now." But we were equally as impressed. Neither of us had it. She seemed like she was on really good form. I mean, you can't always tell because, captain is the person speaking up. But it felt like she was the one who got the sharps in major keys one. Is that right? Yeah, no, she did, and she really nailed it today. I mean, credit to her. I mean, yes, she was the captain and she was speaking, but she definitely carried us today. She didn't let us forget it actually when we were watching it just now. But yeah. That's what sisters are for, Sam, isn't it? Younger sisters is even worse. Younger sisters. Oh, terrible. We got some comments up in the chat. Bring some of those on. Grace from America says, "Hello, lovely week. Sorry, I've been on schools. Been fun and quite a lot." Sounds like you've been on the sauce there, Grace. But good to have you. Good to have you back. Catherine's saying she's emotionally scarred by Daniel Howard's specialist subject choice on Mastermind. A lot of people would kind of rooting against him for that, which is a little bit harsh on the guy. Catherine again, having scored 6 points before round 1 finished, wondered if I'd found my gold seam. Then I got no points on the sequences or wall, 5 missing vowels. That's the thing about playing at home. Sometimes you get on a roll. Sometimes you just can't tune into the question setter. do you get a sense, and I guess this will be the same for you, James, as well, same question to you as well. Do you get a sense during a game that you're tuned into the wavelength of the people who are writing, or are you just thinking that they're living a different existence from me?
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of that. Yeah, I mean, and it, sometimes you come away thinking from a quiz, thinking, oh, that was waste of time. Why do I do this? No idea what these people are writing about. It seems to have no interests in common. And other times it's, yes, this quiz was written for me. So, and it's just, that's the game. So long as there's, a variety of setters, things come right in the end,
Yeah. About you, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the real difficulties, from going from doing loads of practice, sessions, watching old episodes and into the actual studio, is that, obviously in practice session, you're sort of seeing all the, all the questions, you're playing them all, you're kind of getting yourself into that sort of zone. But obviously when you're there, you're getting, a certain set of them, and you're really having to sort of work through that kind of sort of emotional kind of sort of burden of trying to figure it out quickly and getting the answer right. And, I think you lose some of that rhythm, and that's also sort of part of the trick. I think that you can sort of keeping your kind of composure, trying to understand where those kind of patterns are going. But yeah, again, it's completely luck of the draw, right? If you pick the right questions, you can really going to get on a bit of a roll.
Yeah, and sometimes having that kind of almost systematic approach to the questions can really help. And I'm thinking the one that the Steelers had in round 2, the sequence, the anagram of polygons. It's like there seems to be nothing together that, to connect these words or these sets of words, these clues. So it has to be somehow a wordplay one. But it's another thing in the heat of battle thinking it's going to be a wordplay one. It's quite another to then start unscrambling anagrams. Tricky, particularly if you haven't necessarily got a piece of paper or something in front of you. You had a little bit extra time, obviously, than they did, but I can't remember if you got that one or that one went unanswered.
I've been quite good. Well, actually, after each episode, we used to write down everything that we did, just so we were like, analysing our efforts. This is the kind of sort of nerdery that we'd end up in, and just trying to think about, did we get that one right? I don't think we did, actually. No. That was a tough one, actually. And actually, I think it's the other thing about when you're just practicing, you do get yourself into that space, and you are just running through the list, and you're thinking, oh, it might be a word one, it might be, are we sort of thinking all the right things? And we work quite well as a team to try and get through that sort of list.
There's a number of comments coming in about the Wombles, particularly. About 90% of everyone over 30 watching tonight shouted Wombles at the screen. Same on the Wombles. Hang on, got the Wombles. For me, the first thing when I saw Wellington, Tobermory, etc., was thinking Wombles, but then that's kind of what I grew up with. Was that something when you found out the answer? Was that kind of that's old people stuff, or was it actually should we have got that?
I'm really pleased that my beard is making me look older than I am. I mean, I'm not that young, but it's true. Wombles is probably a generation above me, so it all clicked in once the answers came. It all really makes sense. I mean, I think we knew of the Wombles and we'd seen it. It just wasn't sort of embedded, and I think it didn't have that instant click. So yeah, we're seeing we've had a lot of heat for not getting Wombles early, but yeah. I'm trying to think. If it was Five and Sam, it would be completely different story.
And that's the thing, in 10, 15 years' time, there'll be, I don't know, Paw Patrol or something, and I don't know, maybe a little bit longer than that. But, but there'll be people picking up and people like me going, what the hell is this? Or as we had recently in another competition, members of BTS. And there's again, no idea. So, there's always going to be generational stuff. But you kept yourself in contention on the wall. James, any questions that jumped out to you that you particularly liked, the clues or the kind of logic of?
Well, once I saw it, the keyboards thing, I thought, okay, that's smart. I see what they were going for. I wasn't smart enough to work it out, but Oh yeah, and also the anagrams of the shapes. Again, didn't see where it was going, but then it was like, okay, maybe could have worked that out. But, it's all a question of, do you feel it was unfair, or do you feel that you had a chance of working it out, or it's that fine line between is the setter just being too obtuse, and Only Connect certainly straddles that for me anyway.
Well, we've got a setter from Only Connect coming on next week, so we'll be able to ask Alex whether they are deliberately obtuse. May well even be watching, Alex, if you are. Tell us if you're obtuse or not. I mean, the production companies ones come up. That was a nice one, and again, there was a little bit of a potential trapdoor on that one with the Blumenthal snail porridge one that you might think it's literally about cuisine rather than the production companies. But yeah, the Winfrey Harpo was a nice giveaway at the end. Again, for somebody that little bit older, March of the Mods was, I think, the only one of those music ones that I actually could name. It was like, okay, that's from, King and I, and that's from this, that, and the other. But actually, it was the only one where I knew the title. So I managed to pick that up. The one I really liked was the kind of the Humphrey Bogart films, where they eventually got to it. But I like the fact it kind of referenced a clue within the question. Is a little bit kind of meta, but I quite like that element of it, and I like the films that it mentioned, so I was happy with that. Sam, what were your favourite questions in those first couple of rounds?
I mean, registration plates was so good. I mean, it's a classic Only Connect question, and I'm still impressed that that's you got it. The other one, I really liked the shape anagram. I thought that was, they were good, and actually, obviously I'm gutted. I think that's one of the ones I think I wish I'd gotten. Afterwards you sort of feel like, I would have been quite impressed if I got that, and I think that would probably be one of them. And yeah, also a Humphrey Bogart one I thought was really good, which again, I really wish we'd gone simpler and just gone for that one. Yeah.
And then we went on to the wall, and so we kind of touched on the Wombles set, and that kind of almost that gave you the red herring that stopped you getting the other island set, really, didn't it? It was kind of unfortunate in that regard, but you were quick onto the other two, onto the Heron and the Peats. Before you went in, I mean, you've previously obviously done a show and played well. Before going in, was this the bit you dreaded? Was it, because it feels like it's a bit that every competitor dreads, is the wall?
So really weirdly, the wall was the bit that we were most confident with. I mean, all our practice, the wall was the bit that we were very calm about. We had lots of, we'd talked a lot about how we would go about it and our communication, and how we would, attack it. And again, I mean, most of the walls that we'd done, in practice rounds, had gone really well, and so I think we usually go into the wall quite confident. And I think also in our first round we managed to complete the wall, so that was really good. But it was tough. I mean, it was a really tough wall. I think actually if we had Wombles, we might have just gotten there in the end. But well, I mean, I think that's the kind of great thing about the wall. Actually, sometimes it just takes one clue to really unlock all the rest of the day.
Absolutely. Where were you on the walls, James? Were you all over them, or were you floundering?
Well, I saw bits here and there, but yeah, can't say that I would have done massively better than anyone on the show. But I did find myself on the other wall as a Pink Floyd fan, slightly frustrated that they weren't getting that immediately. But that would have been my in. There were 5 tracks from Dark Side of the Moon. So if you only need 5 attempts, then okay, on to the next ones. But yeah, they were difficult.
Sam, when you, because that would have been the first time you saw the Steelers wall, what did you think of it? When you were watching it, presumably, like the rest of us, if you watch it for the first time, you're kind of playing along, trying to spot the things. Did you think, I wish we'd had that one, or were you just kind of thinking actually it's fairly balanced?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, to be fair, watching the opposition wall is the only fun we have now. I mean, seeing our own episodes. Yeah, well, I got to think Floyd on as well. That was actually maybe that's why I probably would prefer the other wall, because I think I would have gotten that and it would have pulled out the rest of them. I mean, it was a really tough wall. I mean, they were both quite tough. I mean, in that kind of good way that they're usually quite even and they're usually quite balanced in their difficulty. So I think they did quite well actually to kind of get through as much as they did. But yeah, it was really difficult one.
So yeah, you were 10-9 up going into Missing Vowels. And of course, the first time you find out what the score is when you return to studio and Victoria Corrin talks to camera and says, and the scores are 10-9. Did you fancy your chances on the buzzer? Or were you just, kind of worried now because, you know the other team's pretty handy as well?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, when we were recording, we didn't really realize how good they were. And actually, what you couldn't see off camera was that even when we were getting the buzz, I mean, Andrew was getting there a fraction of a second before, so you could see him, and he was so quick. And I mean, out of the corner of our eye, we could see that happening. I think, well, we knew it was a close one. I think we knew that the only thing we could do was just, get our heads down and be focused. So I think we were thinking a little bit less about the other team. I was feeling a little bit more confident in that I'd practiced a lot of sort of missing vowels, and I'd sort of gone through that sort of, tried. I guess I sort of built up my sort of own confidence in doing them. But I mean, again, you never know what you're going to get, and it could be something really, really tricky. So yeah, it was just squeaky bum time, wasn't it?
It was indeed. And that kind of thing, you get it on UC as well, don't you, James, where everybody's racing for the buzzer at the same time, and that absolute fraction can make a difference. In UC, presumably, I've often heard people say you buzz when you know you're going to know it, rather than when the answers come out in your mind. Is that kind of how it was for you? Yeah.
That is true, but I wish I was brave enough to do that more. I am still a little bit conservative on the buzzer even now. But yeah, there was one instance where that happened for me, where it was referring to a 5-word French phrase, and my mind had immediately decided that this was going to be about "on y soit qui mal y pense," but that's 6 words. Which I didn't realize that, I didn't quite count as, it's going to be that, it's going to be that. So then I buzzed. And then as I buzzed, he said, René Magritte. So I had to quickly, change gears. Ceci n'est pas une pipe. that was the one place where it paid off for me.
Great if you can do that mental agility. I mean, with
it's part of the game, for sure, yeah.
The benefit that Sam had and the contestants in Only Connect, of course, is the category. So were you anticipating what might come up and kind of waiting for that combination of letters that would, you'd immediately see? So if it was, I don't know, TV, or Van Removed, for example, Morrison, if I saw an M at the start of that, I would have probably been going in without even looking at the rest of the letters. Were you anticipating like that, or were you just playing a bit more cautiously?
Was that 100% waiting for Van Morrison? Who came right at the very end, and it was a bit custard that one. But yeah, this one I think I did a little bit of it, but I thought that the kind of the kind of groups are a bit harder to do that with, I guess, to some degree. But I definitely tried doing that in our round 1 game, which definitely was a little bit better. But
yeah. And just to ask, is I think this is a well-known thing, but I haven't been on Only Connect. The Missing Vowels round, what you see at home is far ahead of what the contestants in the studio see, right? There's a delay. When you're watching it broadcast, the letters come up on screen well before the contestants are seeing it in the recording. Is that true?
That was certainly my experience. That you would be. I remember Series 1. And watching the crossworders and all those other teams and thinking, I'm faster on the buzzer than all of these guys. I should really go on this show. What I didn't realize when I did go on the show in season 2 was you're sat in studio looking at this screen waiting for something to pop up. And it pops up and both sets of players go for it pretty much instantaneously. But when you watch it at home, there's 3 or 4 seconds of it on screen, and people are answering and making you look like you're slow. And then in a wide shot, you see both teams go for the buzzer at the same time, and one of them just pip it. So that's certainly my experience. I guess it's. I'm sure it's the same, Sam. Now, if you kind of watch it back and think, actually, I was really sharp on that. I was really fast, and it makes me look like I wasn't. Is that right?
Well, yeah, no. I think I remember in studio, because also there's a slight delay between the last one and the next one. You are just waiting, and you do feel very on edge. Actually, the one memory I have rewatching this is how sort of full of adrenaline I was right at the very end. It was such a rush, and I think we really felt it actually right now. Those last couple of answers where my sister was getting them actually, and yeah, but maybe it doesn't quite come across, but in the points it does. But yeah, you really feel it in the studio.
Yeah, I mean, you do as much as any competitive environment. You're absolutely, the adrenaline is coursing through you. And I remember coming off set kind of a little bit shaky after time matches. It's it does get to you. But then again, the rush that it gives you as well, that feeling, and both of you will know this, the feeling of walking off set having won, particularly if you've played well personally, is brilliant, isn't it? Was that how you felt, Sam, James?
Yeah, I mean, we had a bit of a mix because both teams came off and we were just like, what on earth happened there? I don't think either of us could really believe, that the result. And frankly, could have got the way, right? So I think we felt initially, what happened there, and then I think that turned into that sort of, oh yeah, okay, it's not bad. Actually, it's quite nice. It's quite nice feeling winning, and you remember some of those things which go your way, and you remember those questions you get right, and you actually feel quite good, doesn't it? It's a contribution that you're going to get recorded, so that adds a little bit extra, doesn't it?
Yeah. And James, how about you? That feeling of coming off set having won a match.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think it's mostly a feeling of relief, a little bit disbelief. For us anyway, we knew we were good, but every time we won, it was like, well, okay, I guess this is happening. we're moving on. And yeah, I mean, it was, of course, in the days of having an audience, it was especially nice. You come off and immediately you've got family and friends and other supporters around and other people who are there filming, so yeah, it's nice.
Chris Dyson has put in, that explains why I'm much better at only connect missing vowels from home than OCR, which are the Connections Online Quiz League missing vowels. Yeah, Chris, that unfortunately is kind of when you've actually got 6 people who go for it at the same time. It's TV, it just gives a slight false, but that's how you get play along ability at home. And it'll be the same on University Challenge. I'm sure that when there's a picture question, we see it before the contestants in studio see it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, James, I mean, it must be like an absolute buzzer race on that.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, yeah, you see it as well on when you're watching. It's quite apparent. You've got about 3 seconds, and then you hear everyone slapping the buzzers.
Yeah. So, a great episode of Only Connect. Congratulations again, Sam. So you are into the next round. To be fair, I'm not sure exactly how this structure works. I'm sure you probably could have lost and still been in for another 3 rounds, as far as I'm aware. But
it was actually my to pass the time in the green room before we started. I tried to work out with some of the other contestants backwards how this show was structured and where in the kind of grand sequence of things we were. We didn't work it out.
Well, we get to see you again, and that's what matters. On to University Challenge, and I mean, we kind of touched on it early, and it'd be interesting to see what people were thinking, whether any of our viewers were kind of almost tuning out at one point when it looked like UCL were being well beaten, but it did look like they were running away with it at 175 points to 50. It looked dead and buried, and then 7 out of 8 starters for UCL, and it turns the game on its head. Now, last time you were on, James, I think it was a very tight defeat for your alma mater. This time, a tight win. Must feel a little bit better this time watching it.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, watching it last time, it was. By that point, we were quite late on in the first round, and saw the scores and thought, okay, they've just got to get enough for the highest scoring loser, and so there was that sort of nerves. Are they going to do that? But they had a very tough draw with Imperial, so I think it wasn't too disappointing of a result, really. And then this time, I was pretty relaxed at the halfway stage, but as we've seen, it can happen. I mean, we had, when I was on our first quarterfinal, at least the quarterfinal is less critical, but first quarterfinal was against Ulster, and at the music round we were something like 150-0 up, and then Ulster brought it back very close in the second half. It was a similar sort of game. But yeah, that thing happens surprisingly often in buzzer matches.
Do you think that comes from an inadvertent relaxation, or all of a sudden you're not risking things, whereas the other team are throwing themselves at it? I mean, what explains that sort of absolute reversal of fortune?
Yeah, well, I mean, to some extent, it's just the statistics of the way the questions fall. There's going to be runs that suit one team, runs that suit another team. But it is also that, I think, especially because people are playing the game of we need to do risky buzzes when they're behind. So, and yeah, often it pays off.
Yeah, and it did. There was some. I'm looking at both the captains tonight, and I'm seeing two really, really good players. Chan got, I think, 7 starters. Kiso got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think. I mean, that's that's a captain's innings on both parts. But then they were supported by other players. I thought it was both. It's a shame to see either of the teams go, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard luck for UCL.
Yeah. Sam, watching it. I mean, I'm assuming you've not been on University Challenge, but you may want to correct me on this. No. So when you watch it, are you kind of, you're mentally playing along? You're mentally trying to answer, beat them to the buzzer, and pick up bonuses. How did you get on tonight?
Absolutely. Like any sort of competitive Quizzy, I think there's nothing like hearing a buzzer going to get you going. I didn't do brilliantly well, and I don't usually do all that well, but there's a handful of questions which I did okay with. I think there's nothing like seeing a team come from that far behind to give you a little bit of hope that you too can answer and come back. But yeah, what a great match to watch.
Yeah, I mean, another 5 minutes. Well, another 1 minute potentially, because I don't think they even got through that final set of bonuses, did they? So, not even another 30 seconds on Ireland. They got a good guess with the first one. They missed the next one. That could have tied it up, just a fraction of timing. James, do you know how the timing works on University Challenge? Is there, a set clock that just literally counts down, or do they start and stop it?
So you're not actually aware of there is a clock, but nobody in the game can see it. As I understand, it is, someone will correct me on this, but I think it's set to 28 minutes, and there will be usually some edits. So it will cut it down to be the right size for the program. But with the exception of the final being slightly shorter. Nobody can see it. You've got the picture rounds at the quarter and 3/4 marks, the music round in the middle. And then towards the end, when the gong is just about to go, because the floor manager walks out. That's what people say anyway. That's what they're looking out for. I never really noticed it at the time, but.
So that's interesting. So they might have 28 minutes on the clock. There might be a run of starters that go dead, and they're the sorts of things that get edited out.
Yeah.
Which means that we might see less playing time or variable playing time on screen, but each match actually is played over the same amount of time. So
they all end up being pretty uniform.
Yeah, there are conspiracy theorists out there on every show that you can think of who will say that it is fixed in favor of this person, or the chasers against the contestants on the chase, and somebody was claiming that there was a fix on Mastermind tonight in favor of one of the contestants, and that there will always be those things, but actually the shows take these things pretty
they
serious.
do. I believe that there are even laws about this, and they're extremely careful about it. I saw one thing in the green room when they were filming another match of University Challenge, and Paxman on a music round read out an incorrect answer. So the team had got 2 bonuses correct. Then on the third one, he just read out the answer, but instead of saying, "And now we're going to have this." So then, what do they do? Do they scrap it for another bonus set and then give them 2 answers? Hand them the answers so to make sure it's the same. But no, that's not allowed because it's not honest. So they had to find a replacement just for that last question. They do take the honesty thing extremely seriously.
Did you get, Sam, on OC any circumstances where there were kind of pauses whilst decisions were made in the gallery, and then you're informed on all of that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think in all the episodes that we filmed, we had at least one sort of moment where a question was queried. I can't remember which it was on this one episode, but certainly before, I remember there was an answer which was accepted, which they were kind of going back and forth on, and they were trying to figure it out, figure out whether or not they could sort of plausibly give it. And some of that also comes down to Victoria sort of she had judgment, she wants to kind of give it, and she's sort of happy with it, and to what degree is that sort of within the sort of the spirit of the question. But
I'm just looking now at the questions and the buzzes. James, were there any buzzes or answers that particularly impressed you, or any kind of elements of the gameplay that really stood out?
I've got a few things. Obviously the Sutton Who buzz was immense. Another thing I liked was the when they were discussing the Russian composers, and Kiki Uyang just listed them all.
She was great. Really good on the composers. I made a note of that on the Uyang Balakarev confer, and then you said really sound judgment she had, and to the credit, the captain listened to her. Any others?
Well, there was on the fast picture round buzzers. Don't know how much if the other team were racing to it too, but he got the Jacques-Louis David immediately.
And that's meat and drink, really, isn't it? For any kind of level of top level quizzers to see that. So that would have been a buzzer race as soon as you see the.
And of course, as we've said, there were good buzzes from both captains, all around, really.
How about you, Sam? What were you kind of things either you were chuffed with getting yourself, or the other things you were impressed with from the players?
I mean, I loved I loved the 20th century politicians and their kind of the etymology of their name. Which I thought was really good, which was a sort of it was one of the great questions, which is sort of process the question and verify, and you've got to do that sort of pretty quickly. And I thought they worked really well as a team. I thought to kind of work through those. I thought the other question I really liked, and I thought they did okay, was the one which was Italian and English words, and I thought again a really fun, interesting question, and again I thought they worked well as a team just to try and sort of process through, and I mean those are the questions which really make a difference. I think also people can get really tripped up and get tangled up in themselves. So I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, we've talked in the past, and Jared's made a comment here about fewer old man questions, and then tonight we had the Wombles, Pink Floyd, March of the Mods on OC and Thatcher on Mastermind. But there were examples of kind of more modern stuff and canon expansion in University Challenge. I'm thinking of the women in music icons. The fact that you got J Lo, you got Mary J. Blige. I mean, you got Aretha, but it was a good kind of modern pop spread, because there was a time when, if it was the music round on University Challenge, it was going to be opera or classical, but maybe there might be jazz. But now there's a lot more kind of diversity, both in kind of the artists and the genres. So I think that I enjoyed that one. Not so much nuclear physics. I was nowhere on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at these, and there are some where I couldn't have got even close to the answer, and a few actually on some elements that I did all right on. The Beijing one, I was particularly chuffed when I was the
I
8,
came in quite early on that. Yeah,
really early, because I remember 8 being the big thing back then. But again, that might be an age thing, that just remembering those Olympics and so much was made of it. Yeah, it's a great show. Any last thoughts on it? I think for me, the key was early on when UCL did get in, they weren't converting bonuses, and at the time, I made the note of it down here. They're not converting their bonuses, because I didn't know how it was going to play out. But I think that's the one thing that perhaps, if they're looking back on it now, and we'll find out next week when we speak to their captain. But that's the one thing that kind of critically hurt them. That's got to be, first thing first is buzz in, James. But then after that, you've got to convert your bonuses, because otherwise you're giving a route back to your opposition.
Yeah, I mean, it came down to Kiki Ouyang listing those Russian composers and Chan picking the right one. That was what, it was. Yeah. It was on a 5-point margin in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, bonus conversion is essential.
It was a tremendous game, and credit to both teams. They were both worthy of being in that round, and they gave us a match that is worthy of the show and of the heritage of the show. It's just fantastic entertainment. We're going to take a brief pause now, so I'm going to pop Sam and James into our waiting area whilst I just do an update on what's new in the world of quiz. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes, guys. So let me bring onto screen Quizzy Monday. I'm going to pop it like that for now. So if we run through our presentation. So this morning we announced the winners of the latest Quiz of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week. So we released the nominations, and the vote opens on a Monday night in Quizzy Monday. And yeah, the vote goes through until Sunday night. And the winner was Jack Lewis for his 14 out of 15 in the Pop Culture Challenge. Joint second with Victoria Gross and James Wharton. So congratulations to them. Well done, Jack. He's in the final of the Pop Culture Challenge, which is happening next weekend. So look out for that being streamed live. The Quiz Team of the Week was the Teessiders, who won the Merseyside Quiz League's buzzer quiz. So Michael McPartland, who is watching right now and saying in the chat, they've been dancing in the streets of Teesside. With 2 S's. Okay, we'll correct that. Michael, Teesside. Yes, so they won the MQL buzzer quiz. Congratulations to them. Second was Life Within Buildings for their performance in the Connections Online Quiz League. And third was Banana Split, I believe, for their OQL performance. So congratulations to all of them. We'll be revealing the latest nominations tonight, but we're also reopening nominations. So any performance from today through to 5 o'clock next Monday can be nominated for Quiz of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week. And nominations go to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. That's tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Send us your nominations, any quiz, any performance. Tell us why they deserve it, whether it's team or individual, or if it's just a shout out for something that somebody did. Let us know. And next week, we will reveal the next set of nominations to be voted on. Next up, the winner of our This Is the Answer competition, we released the answer black. And and loads of questions came in. We had over 50 questions, and the winner was Richard Aubrey, who had quite the week. He won Mastermind last week, and he also won What is the Question? With his question, if Frederick I is red, Graham Chapman is yellow, and Gilles de Rais is allegedly blue, what is Edward Teach? So congratulations to Richard. On Sunday, we released the latest answer in need of a question, and that is history. And we have got pushing 40 questions for that. So you can now vote. The vote is live to whittle that down to a short list, which will then also be voted on. So go to tinyurl.com/WITQ history. That's tinyurl.com/WITQ history. We also, when we have a little bit of time spare, we try and clip bits of Quizzy Monday. And this week we clipped Michael and John from Birmingham after their historic thumping win last week, talking about their experience at University Challenge. And we also clipped a short video of Richard Aubrey talking about what it's like to be facing Clive Murray on Mastermind. So check out those. And I think the only thing at this point is to remind you to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already subscribed, and click the like button. It helps other people like you to find us. So please do that. So I'll just remove this from the screen whilst I now run through what's been happening in the last week. So in OQL, there were no full houses this week, but Joe Crowther of Division 6 got a nomination for his Monster 23-7. Scratch of the Day get a nomination for their 47-46 win over Whittington's Cat, as do Quiz Machine Kills Fascists for their 54-41 win over Central Belters, and Wigton Warriors for their 53-42 win over Q-Tours. In the Pop Culture Challenge, there were 5 people tied for 12 of their own questions. That's Liam McCarthy, Jack Lewis, Dave Gregson, Chris Devine, and Dave McBrien. They all get nominations. In the Connections Online Quiz League, there's been a nomination for Robert Crawley for getting 12 out of the 16 points in the Only Consonants round of COQL. And Team Performance of the Week was the Odd Thruple. And they qualified for the Division 1 final with a 32-31 point victory over Cardi B. The Odd Thruple being Paul Sinha, Lindsay Baumeister, and John Wilson. So congratulations to them. In Quiz League of London, there were 2 full houses, one for David Stainer for Pericardium in Division 1, and one for Sam Swift against my team, the Swine. So they get nominations. Pericardium also get a team nomination for their 54-53 win over the reigning champions Nomads to go top of Division 1. In OQL USA, there were no full houses this week. There were a clutch of people getting 7 of their own questions, and Scott Blish gets a nomination for his 26 points and 7 of his own 2-pointers. In Mimi as well, Chris Ottolino led the entire league with getting 14 out of 15 of his own questions, only failing on a question about British football. In Student Quiz Bowl, Cambridge A get a nomination for winning the first Student Quiz Bowl tournament of the season, the ACF Fall, which was on Saturday. And Robert Crawley, who we mentioned before, if he wasn't already nominated, would be nominated now for being the top individual scorer at the ACF Fall with 80 points per game. Congratulations to Robert. Also a shout out from the nominator to the moderators of that. QB League, I would love to be giving some feedback on performances, teams, and individuals in QB League. They've got some issues with the website at the moment. So if you have witnessed a great QB League performance, whether it's team or individual, until the statistics are sorted out on their website, please send in a nomination, because that's the only way I'll be able to tell who did brilliantly in QB League. The Mastermind Club, last of the roundup, really. Stuart Cross won the Magnum at their annual conference, and Catherine Johnson won the Mugnum. So they both get nominations. Fearsome competition there with loads of Mastermind alumni. Shout out also to Jack Alexander and Dean Wolfe, who between them won a £914 pub quiz jackpot last week for knowing the first headliners of the Glastonbury Festival. Sort of question any serious quizzer is going to love to come up when there's that amount of money going. In Brain of Britain, Alan Hodgson won the second semi-final with a 4-point margin of victory. And you've seen the winners of Mastermind OC and UC tonight. We're going to put both captains from tonight's University Challenge on the vote. They won't be on the graphic you'll see now because it's only just happened, but we will add them to the vote. And so now a recap of the nominations. Put that bigger. So Scott Blish, Robert Crawley, Stuart Cross, Joe Crowther, Chris Devine, Dave Gregson, Alan Hodgson Catherine Johnson, Jack Lewis, Dave McBrien, Liam McCarthy, Chris Ottolino, David Stainer, Sam Swift, plus both of our captains from UC who we'll put onto the list. And quiz team of the week, we've got Cambridge A, Pericardium, Quiz Machine Kills Fascists, Scratch of the Day, The Old Thruple, and Wigton Warriors. So well on to all of those. You can now vote, or at least shortly after, you can now vote. Wait, I'm getting the nod. You can now vote. The voting closes on Sunday, and you can vote at tinyurl.com/QW18oct. So get your votes in, and you can vote throughout the week. And don't forget to nominate teams or players for the next vote, and we will reveal the nominations this time next week. So that is it from our Quiz Week segment. I will now bring James and Sam back onto the screen. Yeah, guys, well, that was a bit of a whiz. So, Mastermind. I don't know if you guys caught Mastermind tonight. What did you think of it? Sam, you're nodding.
Yeah, I mean, what a great game. I mean, well, it set the night off pretty well, didn't it? First, we had 4 really interesting subjects, but that really amazingly close finish at the end was so compelling to watch. You really hoped that she was going to get there, and yeah, just about did. So yeah, no, it was a really, really fascinating episode.
Yeah, Marianne she looked like she was storming it, and then she had like 4 X's in a row, 6 wrong out of 7, and it looked like she was going to stumble like Devon Locke, and then she just managed to get over the line. There's me with my up-to-the-minute pop culture reference. So yes, very, very tight match. James, what did you make of the subjects that we had on tonight?
Well, I had a quick look earlier today, so what are the subjects? And the 3 listed there were Margaret Thatcher, the saxophone, and venomous snakes. What a combo that is! And then the 4th was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know if there's someone with a sense of humour at the BBC putting Margaret Thatcher in with venomous snakes and vampire slayers.
I wouldn't put it past them.
The saxophone being rather mild in among all that, but that saxophone is an interesting one to pick, because where do you go with that? There's so much. Any saxophonist ever you've got to know of, potentially. I always think you could do something more contained. Buffy is quite a contained topic, so I think it was a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, Buffy's contained, but I mean, I don't know how many seasons there were, 6 or 7 or something like that. Yeah. And American shows tend to have like 20 odd episodes a season. So I think that's still a big topic. But yeah, you're right. And Venomous Snakes of Africa, which might seem a really broad subject, but I don't know how many there are. For all I know, that there's only 30 of them, in which case, it's actually a really good subject to pick. I remember when Gary Grant did Dolphins and Porpoises, is actually a much narrower subject than you would think it was. So maybe Venomous Snakes was a very smart subject. Thatcher, on the other hand, biographical topics are, in a way good, because, it starts when they're born and ends when they died. But on the other hand, when somebody lives that long, there is a shed load of stuff to revise on that. I mean, there were questions I could answer, but, there's a lot that went over my head.
And yeah, I mean, with a decade in office, so much to, so much happened. Yeah. How do you tackle all of that?
There you go. 144 episodes of Buffy, very big subject. Yeah, huge one to take. We had a comment earlier about... there was an answer given about taste buds where somebody said papillae, I think.
Yeah, I did think that, yeah.
Now, the thinking in our household was the question asked for the common name. And I think that might have been what kind of... But equally, I don't know if papillae would have been
I did quickly Google it, and I think there may be some sort of something like not all papillae are taste buds, or vice versa, something like that.
Yeah. So that would probably explain it. The other thing was, and I don't know if I misheard it, but I think it was Now I'm just doubting myself. But there was a question about Pluto being yellow, and now I'm thinking, is Pluto yellow or is Pluto not yellow? The dog might have to bring that up. Can somebody in the chat tell us whether Pluto is yellow? But to my mind, I don't know. My knowledge of Disney is not good enough. But the other thing I noticed was, as quizzers, we're very aware of the just give a surname principle. And it felt tonight that has ended with Mastermind. I might be wrong, but there was a point when Dean said Fitzgerald and Clive went, yes, Garrett Fitzgerald. And I'm thinking that was a kind of a little bit of a shift, really, because I think we got used to surnames being generally allowed. But I don't know if that was noticeable.
Yeah, I don't know the rules on the specific shows. I mean, University Challenge is still fine, or obviously there's some occasions where you'll get which one.
Okay. Yeah, we've got some on the big issue of the day, of course. Pluto is definitely yellow with a red collar. Michael saying more orange than yellow for me. I guess it must have been yellow enough to get that question right, but it just surprised me because if I was thinking of Pluto, I'm not sure how to put a color with it. Anyway, Sam, if you were going on Mastermind, have you thought about what subject you might pick?
Yeah, great question. I mean, when I was at school, we did sort of similar things. I remember getting in, and I think I had 1 year was sort of Formula One World Champions, sort of 50-2000, and the other one was, I think, was the Godfather film. But again, I think it's actually sort of looking at today. I mean, the venomous snakes of Africa. I bet you there's one really good big book about venomous snakes of Africa that you could just read through thoroughly. I mean, a bit like Thatcher, you could read there was something really authoritative, about that. And in the same way, Buffy's really tough, actually. There's a lot to get through, and especially with revising and all that sort of nuance and that detail. I don't know what I would pick now today, but I'm sure I'd just find a book on my shelf and just run with that.
Yeah, James, have you ever thought about it?
I did actually throw in an application a year or two. And then I didn't get past the auditions, but in hindsight, I think the subjects I chose, I looked at there's no sort of database, but if you go on YouTube, type in Mastermind subject name, it will often pull up as the first result. So one of mine was REM. I saw Helen Lepel did that not too long ago. So
and I think it's come up since her as well.
Right, yeah, so it's a little bit too... I haven't been paying attention to what's been done. That's the thing.
Well. I mean, very often the experience people have is that they put forward a bunch of subjects and they're told that they can't have them for various reasons, i.e., something too similar being on, or something too similar has been on in the last couple of years, or whatever, or somebody else has picked it, which is doubly annoying when I remember being on one series and I think I wanted to do Billy Bragg and I was told I couldn't. And then I saw somebody else on the same series do it. And I was thinking, I would have done so well. So, there are all sorts of reasons why you can't do certain subjects. But yeah, picking a subject is an art. Now, Skodo Suwail, who I can't help feeling that sounds like an anagram, but I'm rubbish at anagrams. Apologies if it's not. I fancy doing armadillos as a specialist subject. Now, there aren't that many types of armadillo, are they? Are you kind of, and they're limited to the Americas. There's not that many of them. So that would be a good choice if they'd allow it. Catherine says, I'd choose the life and career of Sandy Toksvig as a specialist subject. Studying would be very enjoyable. Lots to study there, though, Catherine, from her early days on Number 73, if you're such a vintage to remember children's TV from the 80s. Through to today. And Michael, surely the choice these days is who you can get the best letter or message from in the final. After yes, there was a few of those in the grand final last season. So wrapping up, because we're coming to an end, what would you say was your champagne moment of the night across the 3 episodes? What was your favorite moment? And Sam, you are allowed to pick something that involved you. That is permitted. And whilst you're thinking, there are about 20 species of armadillo. They're cute. And number 73, Catherine remembers Ethel Davis' sandwich quiz. Indeed. So Ethel, she'll always be Ethel to me. I told her that on 15 to 1. Sam, your champagne moment.
So like, this is really hard because we had in our episode we had my sister shouting "getting absolutely soaking wet" as one of the answers on national TV, which is both disturbing for me, but also I've heard there's video evidence of this on Twitter, so please all do go out, find it, and retweet it. But it's a bit of a weird one. But I think we had two really close finishes. Two really fascinating, like right to the last moment, can't stop watching episodes in Mastermind and University Challenge, and I thought they were absolutely incredible. I might just hit UCL because that was an incredible comeback. I mean, I'd kind of written them off probably about the halfway-ish mark, and yeah, they were really impressive.
Agreed, James.
Yeah, I think that run at the end for UCL clearly was that was the most exciting thing of the night, I think. But I would, I mean, there were a lot of early buzzes earlier in the game from Chan that just held St John's ahead enough by the end. I mean, particularly the Sutton Hoo buzz, that was the best buzz of the night, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of boringly have to agree with that comeback or the almost comeback because it was thrilling to watch. It was seeing and reeling them in. It was great. The captaincy and some of the teamwork also. But if I had to go for something else, it would be Rip Winkle in the missing vowels because it just tickled that schoolboy side of me. So Rip Winkle, but really it has to go to that UCL comeback. It was just something that made it a thrilling and memorable match. So congratulations to St John's. We will see them again. Unfortunate for UCL, but we will get a hit here from the horse's mouth next week when we have their captain with us, and we also have Alex McMillan, one of the question setters from Only Connect, joining us, and who knows who else. We'll see. These things do tend to shift. So thank you to James and Sam for joining us tonight. It's been great having your company. It's been great hearing, Sam, from you about your show, and James, your analysis of all the shows tonight. It's fantastic to have that kind of experienced inside view on things. Catherine's saying Rip Winkle sounds painful. It does indeed, Catherine. Thanks to everybody who's commented and watched us. And if you're watching on catch up, we love you too. Join us live, and then you can kind of join in the conversation. But thanks so much. If you've watched this far, don't forget to click like or subscribe. And look out for stuff that's coming out this week. We've got a preview of the Pop Culture Challenge Tier 1 final coming out soon. Filmed that last night. That's going to be great fun. Don't forget to vote for What is the Question and for Quiz of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week. We'll put a link to those in the description. And until next week, have a fantastic week of quizzing, and we'll see you again on Quizzy Monday. Thank you very much, and goodbye.